Okay.
Okay, Mr. Amiri, first of all, we really welcome you to our program. And actually, let me first of all explain for you the program because uh, we asked this question from our students, from our followers, audiences, that what is the main problem for learning of English language? What is the best questions? What is the important question, on your mind that whenever you want to learn English language? Fortunately, many of them shared their questions that they had on their mind. So, and therefore, we invited you that if it is possible, share your experience, your answer about this question that we will, share our video with them.
Okay.
So thank you so much. First of all, we would like to know more about you. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us something about your biography and yourself?
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation, and I'm glad to be here. As you already know me, but I would like to introduce myself for the people who are watching our videos, who are seeing our interview here, or I can simply say it like they are watching our conversation. My name is Wahidullah. My last name is Amiri, and I'm living here in Germany for like 3 years. And I have studied my master language in English department, and I'm graduated from Bushehr province of Iran, Islamic Republic of Iran. And I have completed my master degree in Persian Gulf University. And currently I'm living here in Germany, and I would like to continue my education here. And I would like to be integrated as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you so much, dear Amiri. We exactly so much happy to have you in our program. So the first question is this, Mr. Hamidi. Many students, many people say, when we take a decision for learning of a language, unfortunately, we don't know where should we start or how should we start. We are confused about, take a decision or starting of learning language. So what should we do?
That's a good question. So, as I think when someone wants to learn a language, there are many reasons, there are many motivations behind learning a language. For example, someone wants to study abroad, if he or she is in Afghanistan or in Iran, it doesn't matter. If he or she wants to go to abroad and study in some European countries or in some Latin countries or in America or in England, it doesn't matter where, that should be a motivation for someone to start learning a language. For example, there are lots of other people who are learning a language in order to have a simple conversation outside of their country with other people, and they want to learn a lot of other things about the other cultures. That can also be a motivation for the people to learn the language and starting from the basic ABC and through C1, and they can improve their language like on daily basis. So I can tell you there are lots of reasons that someone can start learning a language, but for what reason, that depends on the person himself or herself. For example, my decision or my motivation was to go to abroad or to study my master degree, because without the language, without specifically the English language, you cannot go to abroad and you cannot communicate with the people, you cannot study. It doesn't matter if it is bachelor or if it is master. Without a language, it's impossible to communicate with the people and with the professors and with the community. So behind learning a language, there are lots of reasons and motivations that I can tell you, and I have mentioned many of the reasons as well.
Okay, yeah, you exactly. I can say that firstly, or before all the things, those people who like to learn language, they should determine or have a specific goal, any kind of goal, educational goal, or I don't know, going to other country or some other kind of goals. That for those kind of goals, we will be able to start or to learn English. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. And many students tell us that unfortunately we memorized vocabularies, or we have studied a lot of vocabulary and grammatical points, but whenever we wanna, say something in English language, or I don't know, whenever we wanna start our speaking, we forget many of those words, or we are not able to bring them in front of us and use those vocabulary that we have memorized. So what is the solution? Why whenever we have memorized, but unfortunately we are not able to use them when in our speaking?
As a matter of fact, memorizing words is not only enough for learning a language. When we learn a word or when we learn many words in a day, for example, 5 or 10 words in a day, then we have to implement them in our daily life. We have to write sentences with these words, and we have to read every day like many different kinds of newspapers so that we confront these words in our daily life, and in that case we will not forget these words and they will stay in our long-term memory for the whole time. And the problem that many people learn a language, for example, they would like to have lots of vocabulary in their mind, but they are not like using it in their daily lives, in their daily studies. That's why they leave it behind and they forget it like every day, and they have to repeat it like continuously in order to remember these words again. That's the problem. The other problem is that they only memorize the words and they do not watch movies. For example, if they do not have access to some native speakers, the only strategy to use and to repeat these words is to watch some English movies. For example, on daily basis, 1 hour is enough in order to remember and keep these words in their minds. Yeah.
And what kind of a solution could be the best way for memorizing or studying vocabularies whenever, for example, English is not my native tongue, and how should I memorize words? I mean, in a text, or I should memorize separately, or what kind of memorization could be the best for someone who want to
As a
learn?
matter of fact, a good way to learn a language, I mean, generally, is to read books in English language, to watch some movies with subtitles. If the language is not that much strong, they can use these subtitles and they can write down the exact words that they did not understand, and then they can find the meanings. Exactly, if their language is not so good, they can write it in their own language, the meanings, I mean. And if their language is a little bit improved, and they can, for example, search the meanings English to English. There are lots of other dictionaries that they can use it. When they are searching the meanings of these words in English to English, then that will improve their vocabulary, and that's the main strategy to learn a language. The other strategy is to read newspapers. Even if they do not have paper newspapers, they are always busy in internet. They have to follow the websites that are broadcasting some news in English language. That's also the main way to learn a language. If they repeatedly every day do this, homework, then they will be able to exactly learn the language very well.
Okay, thank you. Let me repeat it that I cut it very well. So you mean repetition is the best.
Exactly.
Uh, One of our friends asked us that I have learned English language, but my speaking is not very well. How can I have a good and an excellent speaking, or how can I speak fluently whenever I want to speak?
Okay. That depends on the community that we are living. Unfortunately, in Afghanistan or in Iran, we are not living in a native community. The people around us are always speaking Persian, and we do not have the opportunity to speak the language, the second or the third language that we are learning on daily basis. The only way that you can practice speaking your language, speaking the materials that you have learned, speaking the words and using them in sentences, is to stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself. And when you see that you have improved your own language, you have improved the speaking of this language, this foreign language, then in this 21st century, there are lots of other ways that you can improve your language. For example, you can have lots of contact with foreigners. You can find it. It's easy nowadays because there are lots of people who are enjoying talking to other people and learning about their culture, learning about their languages. That's another strategy that you can use it. But I myself, the only strategy that I used in order to improve my speaking was watching movies. As a matter of fact, yeah, like every day I watched like 2 or 3 movies on daily basis, and I learned the sentences, I learned the language, I learned the
Sorry,
words.
how do you think watching movies could be useful for our speaking? Why do you
For
think
example, when I was
when
watching, I'll give you a clear example of that. When I was watching a movie, for example, in English language, I just focused on the pronunciation of the people who were talking in the movie. I just focused on how they are using these words and in what context and where. Because in English language, specifically, in English language, we have a word that has multiple meanings. For example, what kind of example can I give you? Um, I don't know. I don't know. I cannot give you an example because there is no example, such kind of example in my mind. But you can improve it with watching movies if there are no native speakers around you. But the other strategy that I use, for example, now that I'm living here in Germany, when I want to learn the German language, I have lots of contact with the native speakers. That's why I have learned it a little bit easier and faster. When I see a sentence, when I see a word, I learn it, I memorize it, I use it in a sentence, and then I implement it in the society. That's how you improve your language and you receive the fluency that you have wished for.
Exactly. When we were teaching students, many of them, were telling this that when you are talking with English language or when you are explaining something or our lesson, we can understand, but unfortunately we cannot, speak with English language, and we got our, our problem. That's the main thing that you say that if they are not, connected with the native speakers, or they are in a society like Afghanistan or Iran, which it is not possible to find some people to speak, English. They have to watch movies, or I don't know, use some kind of application to have accessible to some native speakers, yeah, to practice your speaking.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, This is one of the most repetitive questions that's actually we receive by students, that how important is grammar? What do you think? You know, when we want to learn a language, grammar is important or not? Because some people, what? Let me. Some people say, if you want to learn a language, if you want to, speak with a language, okay, go to to society and talk with people. So, what do you think? Without grammar, is it possible to learn or to, be able to speak with another language or not? We have to learn
Yeah,
grammar.
actually, it's not possible to speak a language correctly. I mean, everyone can speak a language, but when you speak correctly, that's the most important point of a language, that you have to understand it. And the basic of speaking fluently and speaking correctly, and the most important point is grammar, that you have to first focus on grammar, and at the same time you have to learn many words in order to use this grammar. If you do not know many words, then you cannot like use it correctly. I give you a clear example. When a baby is growing fast, like 2 or 3 years old, how does he or she is speaking? She's speaking without grammar, and we understand it, but it's not like correctly used. The sentences that she or she is using, they are not correctly used. That's why grammar is one of the most important part of language, and we have to master it. After mastering it, then you will be able to leave it behind, because you have already mastered it, and focus on other parts of the language. For example, listening or speaking or writing. Yeah, for every part of the language, we need to know grammar, and we need to uh, know how to use a language correctly, and with what kind of correct sentences we have to speak. And knowing grammar is the most important part that you have to concentrate on.
Even we can add more information for our student, that maybe when we are in a society, the people are talking with a different language, automatically maybe we will learn, or we will be able to talk some daily speech, but deeply we don't know where they come from, or how we can write them, or I don't know how we can correct them grammatically. That is why we have to consider the grammar rules, the grammatical point for being an excellent learners.
Exactly,
You
that's
have to
another
have
point.
that.
Another example is that when someone wants to learn a foreign language and wants to study abroad in a university, then he or she has to master the grammar, because without grammar, he cannot focus on the writing parts of the tests, for example. If they do not know how to write correctly, then that's a big problem. And yeah, that's also a very big point that we have to take care when we are learning a language.
Yeah, thank you so much. We also, invite from people who watching our live, if they also have some kind of question on their minds, you easily can share them with us. We will answer them automatically, or we will see them and answer to your question, guys. Mr. Amiri, you mentioned about watching movies, listening section, one of the most important section in English, which is listening. You think I am a basic learner. For example, it is the first month, the second month that I have started learning of English language. I exactly don't know about. I exactly don't know whenever I am watching movies or listening to some podcast or radio, something else. So, what is your advice at this point? Is it useful even for me at a basic level to follow, to watch movies and listen to podcasts, radio, or not? Firstly, I have memorize. I should memorize and learn grammar section, and after that to start watching movies or listen to podcasts or something else.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, as a basic learner, someone who has started learning the language, it's better to first focus on some important parts of the language. For example, vocabulary is one of the most important parts, and grammar, and also writing. If they have mastered these parts a little bit, they can start listening to the movies, to the podcasts, or to the radio. But I think there are lots of other audios, or I can say radio podcasts that they can learn for the basic learners, for the people who are beginners in a language. There are not like some difficult levels for these people as well. Every level has its own podcasts and its own level of listening. That's why it's important to start listening to these podcasts.
Yeah, sorry, so much sorry. I think we got a disconnection during of your talking, and I was interrupting. I think if there is a more information on your mind, you can share it.
No, that's it. That's it. I said there are lots of beginner podcasts. I mean, movies that the people who are learning a language can listen to, and they can start from the beginning. It doesn't mean that there are always like difficult podcasts or radio stations that they are broadcasting some news and they do not understand. Actually, there are some beginner guides as well that they can start from the beginning, and step by step they can improve their language.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question is exactly, I can say, a little bit, related to these questions. That is about accent. I myself have experienced this. I have learned English language with American accent, and I can say exactly. I remember whenever I faced with someone that he was talking, with British accent, I was totally confused. What kind of accent is this? What do you think? What kind of accent should be considered, or I don't know, what is the best way to know, to be familiar with different kind of accent? I mean, when someone, he or she, doesn't matter, speak with British accent, we should know about him. Or when someone talk with American accent, or I don't know, Canadian or Australian accent, we should know and we should get them easily. What is the best way to know all of these kind of accents?
You mean how should we on which accent should we focus so that we can understand all of these accents? Did you mean
Which one is the best? We can say, or I don't know, if there is not any specific reason that we should say that, okay, American accent is the best, then British accent, or British accent is the best, then American accent. So what is the best solution that I should understand? Mostly, let me mention it, when I am taken to TOEFL and IELTS exam, when I am taken ready, I have to know about different kind of accent and be familiar, because on the listening section, I will face with different kind of, accent.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the listening section will be with British accent or Canadian accent or American accent. So what should I do that be familiar and be ready to sit to such kind of times?
That's a good question. I think one of the best accents is British accent. For me personally, I don't know about you and others, but if you master the British accent, then you can understand Canadian accent, you can understand Australian accent, and you can also understand American accent. But there is another accent that even the Americans themselves and even the British people themselves maybe do not understand that. And that is, I think, Scottish accent. That's one of my favorite accents, and when they speak, I enjoy it a lot, They are very, very funny people, and it's really enjoying to watch them speak. Yeah. But I personally
I have never
want to speak
heard about that.
to speak more in British accent because that's my favorite accent, and it's easier for me to speak in British than American.
Mr. Wahidi, I was supposed to change my accent with British, accent, but that was a little bit difficult for me.
Yeah.
The way of talking, was so much awesome, fantastic for me. But I don't know, the way of using some word like father, mother, it was a little difficult for me to change even the the volume of my sound to way of speaking in British
Yeah.
accent.
As a matter of fact, I think it's not important like in which accent are we talking, but for us as Afghans, I think we are comfortable talking with American accent because our language is based on somehow, it refers basically to American accent than British accent. But the German people, I think, are mostly speaking with British accent because their language is designed like a British accent. That's why. But I think what's important is in whichever accent that we ourselves are comfortable, we can choose that accent. It's not like obligatory to speak whether in British accent or American accent or Australian accent. It's not really important.
We are free.
We are free to
Daniel.
exactly.
Yeah, but
what's the most important thing speaking a language is that we have to pronounce every single word correctly. Like choosing an accent does not mean that we have to pronounce them incorrectly, and someone who is listening to us should not understand that.
That is exactly one of the most important points, that accent doesn't matter, but pronunciation is matter. Because if we use or if we pronounce wrong, there will not be any, clear speaking. So, and Mr. Amir, when we were, studying and taking ready for TOEFL and IELTS exam, we were supposed to listen to different kind of podcasts, as I mentioned before, because of being ready for listening section.
Mm-hmm.
And it was exactly so much useful, because when we were listening to podcasts and watching some movies with different kind of accent, that was, took us and put us in a situation that we were ready with, with any kind of accent that people are talking, we would be able to understand it, because that was, taken ready for TOEFL and IELTS, and you mentioned it clearly. Thank you so much. And uh, right now, in Iran and Afghanistan, many people are not able to go school or universities. So they ask us that, is it possible to learn a language with ourselves, even without attending classes, learning classes, or without having a teacher? Is it possible to learn by YouTube? I don't know, by application, by something else. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's possible, and it depends on ourselves, and it depends on our motivation, and it depends on our purpose. And yeah, there are lots of other ways that you can learn a language without attending any classes, without being present in a classroom in order to learn the language. For example, nowadays we have everyone, 99% of the people are connected to the internet, or they have their own cell phones and laptops. They have technology in their hands, and they can use this to learn a language at home or everywhere they are going. For example, there are lots of other applications that you can download it and they can start learning the language. There are lots of thousands of videos in YouTube. They can download and watch them at home. Like the people are uploading thousands of videos from the beginner level to the advanced one. They can start learning from YouTube. That's the best strategy that someone can use in order to learn the language and master it, if there are motivation. But I think being present in a classroom is not something that will make you learn a language. Of course, if you learn a language with other people together in a classroom, that will motivate you to learn and practice every day. But if you are really and deeply motivated to learn a language, then you can do it everywhere. It doesn't matter if it is in the classroom, if it is outside of the classroom, at home, at university. You can learn the language everywhere.
That is the best. That is what I would like to
Exactly.
mention to students. What I would like to know is, when we have goal, when we have our own strategy, there will not be any problem in front of us. We will find the solution. As you mentioned, thousands of videos on YouTube, a lot of application, even today's, that we easily can use them to learn language. So a student asked that, they have studied many times. People are asking that we have started learning of English language many times, but after a specific time, I mean, after 4 months, I don't know, 6 months, we become disappointed and we couldn't continue our learning. Where is the problem that such kind of things happen?
I think being disappointed is something that everyone goes through, and we as a human beings experience this disappointment at every level. If it is in a language learning, if it is in some business work, or if it is in other parts of the um, life. But in the middle of learning, we have to find our purpose. What do we want to achieve by learning a language and by mastering a language? We have to continue learning the language like every day. And in the middle, it doesn't matter if you're in the middle or at the beginning. Once you started, you have to go through the end of the journey so that you can see what you have achieved. And there is nothing like in the middle of learning a language. A language cannot be for thousands of years mastered unless you try it every day and learn it like every day. If I'm, for example, focusing on German language, yeah, I will tell you my opinion, and then you can continue. For example, if I study the German language for like over 15 years or 20 years, I am 100% sure that I will not come to the end of this language, and it will flow like a river to you, and nobody can master a language perfectly. And when I cannot master a language perfectly, it doesn't mean that I should leave it in the middle of learning the language.
Exactly. When I don't know, have you ever seen some kind of things, some kind of sentences that come to our centers? We will teach you on a 6 month, I don't know, 9 months, perfectly. I don't know. We will finish English at 1 year, or I don't know, 2 year. This language, that language. These are some things I think weird. These are some things nonsense, because as you mentioned, learning a language or learning knowledge is like a river. As much as possible that we can go deeper, but we will find again space. Again, we have to go more. So it will not be any specific I don't know, place or think that we should say, okay, I have finished my language or my knowledge, my level. So, and there is one more question, and we come to conclusion. In Afghanistan, people are confused. They are asking, there are different kind of system. I don't know, including Azraq system, Muslim system. I exactly remember intercom, interchange system, and they say which kind of system is the best, or system is doesn't matter if we want to learn a language. What do you say about this question?
As a matter of fact, every academy has its own systems. They are teaching, for example, all these four parts of the language at the same time. But what is the most important thing is that we have to have our own strategy. And how do we learn a language in a based way for ourselves? And how, for example, I was just giving you an example in German language. Zum Beispiel. Zum Beispiel means, for example. I'm sorry. Yeah, for example, I'm more interested in writing, I'm more interested in speaking. And then I have to use my own strategy to prioritize my own strategy in order to learn the language. For example, if my priority is learning writing and speaking, I have to first put these ones and later the other parts of the language. If the course is, for example, the academy is teaching you this way, but it pressures you, and then you have to leave that and you have to focus on your own strategy, what's best for you and which way is useful for you to follow in order to learn the language. For example, someone can only learn it through watching movies, because if they have, for example, a favorite movie and they are interested in that movie, they can start watching that movie, and by starting and watching that movie, they can learn the language very well, other than being in a classroom. That's the best way. For example, I'm interested in watching movies and I enjoy watching movies, and I will play this movie in a language that I'm learning. That's the best way and strategy to learn it faster than being in a classroom that you do not have any interest in.
Two systems are not important, or different kind of books are not important. Different kind of academies are not important. The important is our goal. Is important, yeah.
Exactly. Your connection was a little bit weak during your speaking, but it's okay. Yeah. As I told you, every academy has its own policy and its own strategies to teach a language, and they will pressure you to learn the language, but how do you yourself learn the language is also 80% important, and 20% will go to the academy. Yeah, that's also the best strategy that you can follow, an academy that is presenting you the best strategy in order to learn a language. But how do you learn it yourself is also important, and that should be also a priority for yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Amiri. And the last question is this: easy questions, a lot of information, easy questions with a lot of sense. How important is learning of English language today? What do you think? Is it important, as much as important around the world, that we have to learn it? Even my university, field is not related to English language. I don't know. I am studying a field which is, not connected as much as you think or as much as we think. But what do you think in today's world, in today's life, is it important that we have to, or students have to learn it at anywhere, at anyhow? I don't know.
I think English language plays a big role nowadays in our life, and it plays a big role for the whole world. For example, United States is also the main power of the world, and they are controlling everywhere. And if you would like to, for example, study somewhere in a foreign university other than Afghanistan, even in Afghanistan, if you go to the before Taliban, American university was playing an active role in Afghanistan, and there you have to use and implement English language. That's why that's important. And if someone wants to get a scholarship in European countries or in some other countries in Canada or America or England, then we use and need the English language. And it's an international language that everybody speaks this language. That's why it's really important to learn this language first other than other languages. Yeah.
Sometimes, I mention for a student or for my friends, this is the language of technology. You think this is the language of oxygen. I mean, without English language, even we are not able to use any kind of technology. Maybe we are able to use, but for those people who have learned it, they will be more able, they will be more comfortable to use those kind of application or be contact with technology, with new world, with the new challenges, with the new strategies, within everything. And as you mentioned, yeah, it is much important to learn it, because today's the day of, I mean, today is the world of language, especially in English language. Yeah, thank you so much for giving us your time and the good answer, good information. We really use it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I will be always there, and I hope that we will have lots of beautiful and useful conversations in the future as well. Thank you for having me. I would like to thank you as well.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.